In all its history, the G20 had never, ever been hosted by an African nation. This setting wasn't just about a different backdrop for the photos. No way. It was a powerful statement that shifted the focus, influenced the agenda, and, it ultimately shaped everything that came out of the entire meeting. The guiding spirit for the whole thing was this philosophy of Ubuntu. Now, this is a profound shift from the usual language of geopolitics, right? Instead of just focusing on what's best for one country, Ubuntu is all about this idea that I am because we are. It's this deep belief that we're all interconnected, that no nation can truly succeed on its own. And this wasn't just some nice-sounding theme they talked about. They actually put it into practice. The entire summit was built around three core pillars: solidarity, equality, and sustainability. The whole declaration, everything they agreed on, was structured around these ideas. So let's break down what they decided to do under each one. Okay, so this historic location really set the stage. It was all about shifting perspectives and finally addressing some of these long-standing global imbalances. First up, that pillar of solidarity. This one went straight at the immediate, tangled-up crises facing both people and the planet. And it started with the most fundamental need of all: food. The declaration didn't pull any punches. It opened with a stark reality check. Despite all our progress, 720 million people, that's nearly 750 million, were still facing hunger. A number that's staggering just completely frames the conversation. It demands urgent collective action. So that became the central question. And it's not just about, producing more food. It's about creating systems that are resilient and fair, systems that can actually withstand shocks like climate change or economic downturns and still get nutrition to everyone, everywhere. The G20's answer is a framework they called the Ubuntu approaches. And this is a significant shift. It moves way beyond simple aid. The focus is on building self-sufficiency. How? By strengthening local food production, slashing all the food that gets lost or wasted, diversifying where our food comes from, and, this is critical, empowering the smallholder farmers who actually feed most of the world. The leaders also recognize that you can't solve the food crisis without tackling the climate crisis. I mean, we're all seeing it, right? Natural disasters aren't rare events anymore. They're becoming a constant and accelerating threat, and they hit the most vulnerable countries the hardest. This led to a really key change in focus, moving from just reacting to disasters to proactively preparing for them. The G20 committed to serious investment in risk reduction, setting up financing before a crisis hits. And get this, they're aiming to have early warning systems protecting every single person on Earth by 2027. Now, this proactive theme carries right on into the second pillar, equality. This one focuses squarely on reforming the global economic system to make it more inclusive and, more just. To ground the discussion, the declaration highlighted some pretty stark inequalities, like this one. Access to reliable energy is absolutely fundamental for modern life, for economic growth. Yet a huge portion of the host continent lives without it. That single fact just shows you the massive scale of the challenge. Another major obstacle is debt. For so many developing nations, it's like trying to run a race with a ball and chain around their ankle. Crushing debt payments are literally strangling their ability to invest in their own futures, in things like healthcare, schools, and climate resilience. So one of the key tools the G20 is trying to strengthen to tackle this is the common framework. The goal here is pretty simple. Create a more orderly, predictable process for countries that need to restructure their debt. It's about getting all the major creditors, we're talking other nations, private banks, everyone to the table to work out a fair solution. The declaration was also looking to the future economy, and that meant addressing a huge issue: the critical minerals that power all our green tech. Think about it: electric vehicle batteries, wind turbines. Global demand for these resources is absolutely exploded. And this quote from the declaration really gets to the heart of it. For way too long, resource-rich countries, many of them in Africa, have just been exporting raw materials while seeing very little of the economic benefit. The G20 basically declared that this old extractive model has got to change. So to make this happen, the G20 launched a new framework. It's built on three key steps. 1, unlock more investment to find new resources. 2, promote local beneficiation, which is really just a fancy way of saying process the minerals and build stuff right there at the source. And 3, make sure the mining is done sustainably and transparently.
And that brings us to the final pillar, sustainability. And this wasn't just about the environment, it was really about building lasting partnerships to make sure Africa is a key driver of future innovation and growth.
One of the most forward-looking announcements was this AI for Africa initiative. And this isn't about Silicon Valley just exporting its AI solutions. Nope. The idea is to help build a sovereign, homegrown AI ecosystem right there on the continent. The plan is pretty comprehensive. It aims to provide all the essential building blocks: access to massive computing power, training for a new generation of local talent, and high-quality data sets. The whole goal is to empower African nations to develop their own AI capabilities tailored to solve their own unique challenges, from agriculture to healthcare. Finally, the summit reinforced an existing flagship program, the G20 Compact with Africa. By launching a second long-term phase that goes all the way to 2033, the leaders sent a really clear signal that they're committed to making African nations more attractive for private investment, to unlock the capital needed to build infrastructure and create jobs. So, the Johannesburg Declaration laid out this really ambitious and inclusive vision. But, as with any high-level summit, the real test is turning all these powerful words into concrete action on the ground. And the scale of that challenge is just staggering. The declaration itself notes that developing countries need nearly $6 trillion just to meet their climate goals in the coming years. That gap between ambition and the actual financing available is vast. This summit in South Africa gave us a powerful new framework, all guided by that spirit of Ubuntu. It absolutely succeeded in putting the priorities of the developing world right at the center of the global agenda. The defining question that's left, though, is whether the world's most powerful nations will now match that vision with the resources and the action required to make it a reality.